BBC Sounds. Music, radio, podcasts.
Hello, I'm Bradshaw and this is a Scottish Football Podcast. All the news, views and analysis you need on Thursday the 14th of August. And we're ready for a continental football feast this evening.
What I tried to do all last season was challenge the players every week to try and recreate our own history or change history in a positive way, and they've done that on many occasions last season. The first one on our agenda this season is can we reach group stage football.
Hibs with the 2-goal advantages, they take Partizan back to Easter Road, and Dundee United on level terms as they host Rapid Vienna.
It's huge, obviously. It's a great occasion. Especially off the back of the performance last week in Vienna. The players put in a great performance. We've taken learnings from the game in areas that we think we can improve.
Can both Scottish clubs make it through to the conference playoff round? And time to check in with the table toppers.
It's not the easiest of starts. We've navigated the first couple of games in the league well, and deservedly won those games. I felt the performance was deserved enough 3 points.
We'll take a closer look at Premiership leader Hearts.
The Scottish Football Podcast from BBC Sport Scotland.
Yes, hello and welcome on Thursday. We've got two excellent guests as ever. First up, we've got Michael Grant, the Times Scottish football correspondent. Michael, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good, Ray. Thank you. Good morning.
I asked Stephen McGowan this question yesterday and he kind of poo-pooed it, so I want to know your vibe of it. You got 2 weeks left at the transfer window. Is this the fun part of the job or not really?
For journalists?
Yeah.
I think, to be honest, probably a lot of clubs will have done their business, won't they? They've done the body of their work, obviously.
Sorry, have you not seen Celtic this season?
No, well, that's true. Well, they've signed plenty of players. I don't know. And the worry for their fans is they don't sign anybody else, But yeah, listen, I know your point, and yeah, that I can't say it affects me too greatly, but there is a lot of pressure on some guys to be the ones that get the great scoops on the transfers,
Yeah, and we're also joined today by Robbie Neilson, the former Dundee United and Hearts manager. Robbie, I've done a lot of these podcasts. I think you're the first person to turn up wearing your own initials on your badge, which is a nice little touch.
Get some for you eventually, Ray.
Yeah, that's the dream. That is the dream. So you're currently out at SK Lommel in Belgium. How's that going for you?
It's been great, actually. Yeah, just something different. Obviously, I did Hearts, Scotland and England for a while, and then went out to America. Came back and then got the opportunity to come here, and it's been great. It's a bit refreshing and trying different things.
Because you're part of the City group, so how does that work? You got a straight line to Pep Guardiola?
Not yet, Ray. But it's different. It's kind of, obviously it's a multi-club. There's 13 different clubs within the group, so you get a lot of support from the different areas and the City football group as well. So it's been quite an interesting thing to be part of, because you see how it works, and I think that's the kind of way a lot of the big clubs are going now. I know quite a few English Premiership clubs are starting to, as we spoke about prior to that, with Watford and Udinese. They're all getting into that. So getting within this group and seeing how it works has been really, really interesting.
Are you still got an eye on a job in Scotland? Are you travelling about? You're going to be a nomad for a while. What's the plans?
No, I always see what's going on. But at the moment, obviously Lee Johnson's here as a head coach, and I'm quite close with Lee, and he said, "Let us do the season and see where it goes from there." After that, so I'm just concentrating in here at the moment, but always keep an eye on Scotland and the set up in there. As you know, it comes and goes there.
If you follow social media, you could be applying for a job in Rangers in about 3 weeks based on what their fans are saying. So let's kick off with tonight in the Conference League qualifiers. Let's start with Hibs. Brilliant 2-0 win in Serbia last week, Michael. They could have scored more as well, couldn't they?
They could have, yeah. Listen, I mean, how many times do we get to enjoy a Scottish team, especially out with the Old Firm, going away from home and winning by a couple, and against a substantial club as well. You're not talking about a real kind of minnow, So that second goal from Martin Boyle made it really fascinating, I think. And, you'd hope it's a game changer in the tie and it gives them a bit of comfort coming back. But I do think, Ray, that they're still, and they've said this themselves, they've still got work to do, because obviously Partizan were down to 10 men for most of that game and still contributed a lot to the match, still made chances, still applied a bit of pressure. So I think they clearly think that 11 against 11 means they're still in this. And, you saw Kilmarnock coming back from a couple down against Hibs at the weekend. So, there's no grounds for complacency whatsoever. But Hibs are in a brilliant position.
Yeah. Robbie, who do you think is going to be key for Hibs to get the jobs done? I saw they said Kieran Bowie is going to be fit. They think he's been excellent, but who else?
I think he'll be massive for him. Actually, I watched the game last week and I thought that, I thought Hibs did really well, because when you go to these European games, you can't be too expansive. You need to kind of be quite compact, and it probably suits them when they've got Bowie up top and then they've got Martin Boyle running off him as well. I think for me, both of them are key. I think Martin, for the last number of years now, has been a massive player for Hibs, because he gives them that pace in the transition, and his goal scoring has been outstanding. So if they can keep those two fit on the pitch, I think they've got a chance. But I still think it'll be very, very difficult tonight. As Michael said there, Partizan went down to 10 men after about half an hour, 35 minutes, and still had the majority of the possession, which suited Hibs because he could sit in. But I think obviously at Easter Road now, the Hibs fans will expect a bit more dominant performance, and then they start to open up a wee bit. So I think it might be a high scoring game.
You've put your coaching hat on. 2-0, you're coming home. This is the classic nightmare scoreline, isn't it? Do you play it safe? Do you try to get a third to kill the tie? How do you think they'll set up to approach this game, Robbie?
I think Hibs, what they've got within the team with Bowie and with Martin Boyle, they have to be quite direct, and they have to go and make runs in behind. So you have to be a team that goes and tries to get the third goal, I think. Because I think, if you get Easter Road rocking at the start of the game, which it will be before kick-off, I know Partizan are used to big atmospheres, but not away from home. So I think it's an opportunity for them to start the game well. If they get that third goal, it's almost done. Yeah,
it's so exciting because, like you said, Michael, whenever our Scottish clubs in this position, Partizan, like you mentioned, they still cause a threat. They scored 7 in their domestic game on Sunday. How do you see tonight going? Do you think Hibs are going to do it?
Yeah, I do. I think it might be nervous. It might be tense. They might have to score still. But listen, they'll never have a better chance, will they? In terms of the first half lead they've got, they're at home, the stadium's full, but also Hibs have got a lot of momentum behind them, and they've had that for a long time now. It's a group that is used to winning matches together, and just the tailwind you get from last week's result is going to be massive for them as well. So listen, sadly we've been in this movie a lot of times before, and we've thought that a Scottish team has 1 foot in the next round and they blow it. I think Hibs have got enough about them to get through tonight.
Oh, I'd love that. Final question for you, Robbie. Obviously, in the last round about Hibs, Midtjylland scored a 119th minute beauty of an overhead kick. Did you ever have a moment in a player where the winning goal was so good you weren't even that gutted? You were just like, there's nothing we could do? Is that how footballers think or not?
Sometimes when the opposition score a goal, I remember years ago, when it was in Europe as well, we played against Bordeaux at home, and I think we went away and won 1-0. And the boy, was it Reyes or something? He ended up going to Liverpool for Big Dough. He scored from the halfway line, and it was one of them you were just like... It was against Craig Gordon as well. It was the best goal you've ever seen, and it was just like, there's nothing you can do. He's a top player. Yeah, so sometimes they score these goals, you just have to clap.
Are you not just relieved it's not come down the left wing, so the right back's not getting the blame?
I was actually, yes. Yeah. I let him shoot for there and then blame him.
Right, let's take a look at the other Scottish club in European action tonight. Dundee United, a terrific draw in Vienna last time out, but it's a harder task tonight, Michael, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I mean, they've again, like Hibs, they've done brilliantly to keep the game alive. I saw Jim Goodwin talking about, a lot of people still think that Rapid Vienna are favourites, and I think that's probably fair. Vienna, again, like Partizan Belgrade, have got a really substantial European pedigree and record. It's a club that we've known about for decades. United have to go and win it. It felt like a win last week, didn't it? To come back from to come back twice from losing positions to get a draw, terrific. Keeps them right in the game, but the bottom line is they still have to do it at home. I'm not sure if Tannadice is sold out, is it? But it'll be a big crowd again. Listen, obviously, inevitably, I would have less confidence about United than I do about Hibs.
Yeah, they've got a big injury crisis ahead of this game, Robbie. Jim Goodwin said it'd be quicker to list the fit players than the ones injured. What's it like going into a game like that? Will that increase the resolve?
I think it'll be a really, really difficult game for them, to be honest with you. I think I didn't see a lot of the game over there in Austria, but just when you look at the kind of stats for it, it's, they obviously very little possession within it, and their XG was really low at that point. You know what I mean? So I think that it's a tough one, but I think up at Tannadice, I think it is a sellout up there tonight, so the atmosphere will be very, very good, but it'll be a real tough game, I think, for them. And it would be, if they can, I think if they can get a result, it'll be one of the biggest ones they've had for, God, almost in their history, out with Barcelona.
Yeah, it's good to put that caveat on it, isn't it, as well?
Yes, I know. I just remembered that before I said it, because we used to speak about that a lot up there.
Michael, for you, I mean, what was the stat we had in yesterday's podcast? I think it's 17 different nationalities at Dundee United just now. Looks like they've brought in a lot of players. I saw they've brought in Julius Eskison after Papo got injured. For you, pick of the bunch, Zach Sapsford, maybe? He looks like a real find, doesn't he?
Seems to be, yeah. He's made a really good impact so far. A couple of goals in Europe. He was a terrific he put in a terrific effort last week, didn't he? He covered a lot of ground and was just a nuisance to play against. Listen, Robbie knows better than you and I, Ray, but I mean, it must be difficult to get so many bodies in one summer and expect it to click. Or not, don't know if you expect it to click, but obviously you hope it clicks really quickly, And as you say, it's a very cosmopolitan bunch. They got a bit of stick, which I thought was a little bit unfair for not having any Scottish players in. I mean, they do have Scottish boys who were injured, and the other Scottish clubs have not got many Scots in the team either. So it's not easy to just kind of get a group like that together and expect them to hit the ground running. So the fact that United have come through one round in Europe and given themselves a fighting chance, a puncher's chance in this game, I think that's credit to Jim Goodwin, to be fair to him.
Yeah, that's a really fair point, Michael. Let's ask Robbie about that. You've been the manager up there. When you're at Hearts, when you've been over in Tampa, and now you're in Belgium, how much does that kind of local footballer, is there still that thing now where you need some locals in the team, or do you think football's moved on from that? Because Jim Goodwin, like Michael said, got a lot of stick now. They're talking about extending his contract. Just now he's done a great job at Tannadice, but is that football from the past where you have to get local players in, or not so much, do you think?
No, I do think you still need a core group of players that that can get a link with the fan base and understand not just what the club's about, but also what the league is about, because you'll go to certain games that for want of a better term, you just have to dig it out, so you need these guys within the group that can help the guys from out with be part of it. I do, as Michael was saying there, like when you changing 10, 12, 15 players a season, it's very, very difficult to get a bit of continuity within the group. I know Jim's kind of stuck to the 3-5-2 system most of the time. I would think it would be the same today. I think the biggest thing for me was trying to replace Dalby's goals for last year for Jim. And sometimes you need to do that by bringing in 3 players, because if he's scoring 20 goals, it's very difficult to recruit another goal scorer that will do that for you. So sometimes you look at maybe getting 2 or 3 guys in those positions, so you end up bulking up your squad. You have to do it for Europe as well, but it's very difficult, one, to get any continuity, but also to manage that group. So yeah, I think it'll be a tough ask this season to do what they did last year as well.
Yeah, and finally on Dundee United, Robbie, new signing Julius Eskison says, this is the direct quote for him, he's looking forward to raw, proper football. Do you think that's the best description of Scottish football?
No, I don't. I think we give it a bad rep, honestly. I've obviously been different. I've been in America, I've been here in Belgium, and the football here is very, very similar. I think we have we paint ourselves as like this, kind of old-fashioned style of football. We're not. We play a lot of football within the game, and yes, there is probably a little bit more physicality, depending where you're coming from. Even here in Belgium, I was expecting it to be quite like the Dutch football, which is very, tiki-taka and passing and building, whereas the Belgian football here is very, very similar to Scotland. Teams will go direct, there's physicality, there's pace. So I think, like, as we're seeing with the results that we're getting, we're better than we probably give ourselves credit for. Yeah, but that's a Scottish thing, isn't it?
Yeah, it definitely is. And Michael, you're obviously a journalist, you're good at spinning words. If you had to sum Scottish football up in 3 words instead of raw, proper football, how would you describe it, Michael? What would you go for?
Oh, God. Relentlessly dramatic nonsense.
Right, that'll do. You can hear Dundee United v Rapid Vienna on Sportsound on BBC Scotland Extra tonight from 7 p.m. You can watch Hibs v Partizan from 7:45 on the BBC Scotland channel this evening. Finally, Hearts sit at the top of the Premiership, so let's focus on them for a little bit. Derek McInnes effect. I was surprised when I saw him drop down to Kilmarnock, Michael, and then because his stock was so high at Aberdeen, maybe not towards the end, but still, thought that you always thought he would end up at a club like Hearts. I know he's been linked with Rangers numerous times over the years. Did you see them starting this well, Michael?
Yeah, I could, Ray, to be honest with you, because I think there are similarities with Aberdeen's start last season in terms of the League Cup. If you're one of Scotland's bigger clubs and you're in the League Cup group stage, I think it can give you that kind of catapult effect into the start of the season if you win your first 4 games, which they've done. I mean, you're right about Derek McInnes. I remember going down to his first match at Kilmarnock. It was away to Queen of the South in the Championship. And I remember, he's obviously Derek always speaks well, but I remember thinking, you're at a real kind of crossroads in your career here, because from where he'd been to suddenly he's in the second tier, you don't know how it was going to work out at Kilmarnock. It worked out over the piece really well for him. He did enough there to get himself back up to one of the biggest clubs in the country. And I'm pleased for him that that's happened. So right now he looks a good fit. I think there's a lot of interesting things about Hearts that I'm sure we'll talk about. But I think if you're Derek McInnes, you will be thrilled at where you are and the potential that you have and the kind of power that you have at your command at the moment.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Robbie, you know more about Hearts than most people, given your time there. They're good enough to win trophies. That should be the benchmark for them just now. How do you think they're going to do under Derek McInnes?
Yeah, I think that it's now about competing against the Old Firm for Hearts. That's where I kind of see them, that they look at the dominant third force. The decision or the question will be, can they make the step to go beyond one of them, which is obviously Tony Bloom coming in. That's what they're trying to do. But I think it'll be very, very difficult over the course of a full season. I think you can, at the moment, obviously start the season, one of the big things about Hearts is momentum, especially when you're at Tynecastle. If you can build that momentum of winning games, which they managed to do within that, the group stages of the Cup, you then take that into the league, it's really there at the moment. But the first big question will be when the Old Firm come to town, can you turn them over?
Yeah, I disagree with that point about momentum, because Thistle won all 4 of our games and get scudded 5-1 in our first game of the season. So maybe it's different for each team's. Michael, are we going to see a George Burley type season from Hearts, you think? Think they're going to be top of the league in October?
Let's not going to rule it out entirely. Excuse me. Robbie had a brilliant start to a season at Hearts as well, didn't he? In the top flight. It's not inconceivable, Ray. I think their next league games from memory are Livingston and Motherwell. I think they've got a really, really interesting St Mirren tie coming up in the Premier Sports Cup, which I think will be a really hard test for them. It'll be arguably the hardest game so far, and also they've got an appalling record in that tournament, so they will want to really start making impressions in cups. They've come close. They've come to Scottish Cup finals. The Tony Bloom thing is just absolutely fascinating. From a journalistic point of view, it's great. But just from a wider point of view, he's come in, he's shown brilliant ambition, he's been kind of fearless in what he said. He's a likeable character, by the way. But there's no getting away from the fact that creates a narrative around the club and a pressure and an attention that is immediately on top of them. They've won 2 games and already we're talking about how are they going to go? Are they going to be top of the league in October? That sort of stuff. that is Scottish football. You don't. Robbie will tell us. You don't get breathing space. The attention is relentless, and that's just something they're going to have to handle.
Yeah, likeable characters. You must have seen so many over the years, Michael. Do they all fade away or do they last?
Yeah, a lot of them fade away. A lot of them aren't likeable as well, by the way. But
name names.
No. Tony Bloom. Listen, Tony Bloom's going to be around for a while, And the thing that's different and it's so intriguing about Tony Bloom is his track record. You know what I mean? He's not a guy that you can just dismiss as, oh, here we go. We've heard chancellors come and go in Scottish football and make huge claims about what they're going to do, and they're going to break the old firm and all this and that. With Bloom, you have to take him seriously because his record is so impressive. Again, I don't think you really look at look at Brighton because the budgets are so vastly different. But I think there are comparisons with what he did at Union, or what he is doing at Union St Gilloise in Belgium. Because of the budgets and the fact that they're a smaller club relative to the forces that are usually dominant there. So, absolutely intriguing, and he's going to be around for a while. He made that clear last week.
Yeah, he's said some big comments out there, hasn't he? For you, Robbie, Jamestown Analytics are the kind of buzz phrase in Scottish football just now. You're obviously working in part of the City Group, a big kind of entity. Does that make things a lot easier, or do you just need to learn the new structure of it?
Yeah, I think it's really just learning the structure and the processes within it. Obviously we're part of the City Group, so we get 13 teams here. So you get a lot of players moving about. So I think obviously the Jamestown is a little bit smaller. With that side of things, we've obviously got Union who are here. Who I went to watch a few weeks ago actually. And then Brighton and then Hearts within that system as well. But I think it, from a recruitment process, which is probably the most important thing within football clubs, it's huge to have that network. Because I know they use. The company has in the background to source the players, which is very similar to here as well. So that really helps with things. That it takes a lot of load off the club when it's looking at and the head coach, to be honest with you. You kind of just nowadays you're just saying, I'm looking for this type of fullback or that type of fullback. Next couple of days you get 5 or 6 different options in, and then that's it. So like I talked about earlier, it's a wee bit like the football manager side of things, the recruitment. This is what I want. This is the type of player. You have your KPIs, and then the guy turns up a couple of days later.
That's amazing, isn't it? Have you got one from your time? Maybe it was Hearts, maybe it was Dundee United. The one that got away, the one you thought you were maybe going to sign and it just didn't happen.
God, you put me in the spot here. So there's a few loan deals when I was down in England at MK Dons. The boys went on to bigger things. We had a look at James Maddison at the time. Didn't get him. I think actually he went to Aberdeen.
Yeah,
there was one that and then there was a couple of others. I actually took the boy Harvey Barnes. When I was at MK, did really well for me, and then tried to get him again and thought I had him, and didn't get him, and then ended up getting sacked about 3 months later. So if I'd got him, I'd probably still been in a job. So there was a few over the years, yes.
Not that you're bitter about it.
No.
Yeah, I'm not bitter at all, man. Like that.
That's yeah.
So there's been a few. But hindsight's an easy thing to look at, isn't it? It's a wonderful thing.
Yeah. Well, that's all we got time for. Many thanks to Robbie Neilson and Michael Grant, and thank you for listening. Remember, we're here with new episodes of Scottish Football Podcast bright and early each day. So to make sure you don't miss out, subscribe on BBC Sounds and have push notifications turned on in your phone. So there we have it. 2 Scottish clubs in Europe tonight. Hearts going great guns, and an episode where we barely talked about the Old Firm. It's what you want in Scottish football. And just remember, if you ever want to talk to Michael Grant about what football owners are not nice, send him 20 quid in his Twitter DMs and he will give you the full story. Thanks for listening. Bye-bye.
It's petty, it's ill-informed.
Are President Trump's cuts having an adverse effect on research?
It's pandemonium.
What number's that in the periodic?
PD, number 47. I don't know.
I've done the shooting clays before. The longer you do it, the sorer obviously it gets.
When Craig said there he'd been shooting the clays, I imagined him out a back line. Somebody's washing,
William Shatner, his secretary, contacted me to say, when Bill has a question now and again, can he contact you? And then one time he called me up and he wanted to know, David, what is a photon? I'm thinking, this is incredible. Captain Kirk wants to know what a photon is,
I once met a guy who referred to a globe as a ball map. A ball map.
Look at the ball map.
What we normally do is spin the ball map and we see where we go on holiday.
The Off the Ball podcast, available every Monday on BBC Sounds.